Hey, I'm going to talk about pacing during an intensive. A lot of you are thinking about doing intensives, but one of the things that really holds you back is you worry about pacing. You worry that it's going to be um, too much, right? Intensive, that word itself kind of conveys the sense that, whoa, this is really intense. One couple over potentially 3 days, depending on how you want to format your intensive. We like to do it over 3 days. How do you keep the pacing so that as the therapist, you don't get overwhelmed? And then also that you make sure that your clients are working within their window of tolerance and that they're not feeling overwhelmed. I love this question. I used to not do a great job at this, okay? So I learned the hard way, and I'm hoping that I can kind of tell you what not to do, and that way you can shift. And as you think about doing intensives, keep this in mind that pacing is just as important whether you're working in a traditional hourly session sense or an intensive. So, with an intensive, there is the tendency to go, oh, we've got all day, right? Like we've got all this space. It's okay. We can, take our time and settle in and all of that. And while that is true, the danger is that if you get too relaxed, if you let your clients go into the story too much, if you let your clients get into content too much, if you follow reactivity, if you let the reactivity take up too much airspace, it doesn't matter that you have all day because your nervous system, your client's nervous system is going to get dysregulated and it's going to be so much harder to regain focus. And so one temptation with an intensive is because you don't have, somebody waiting on you, because assuming you've got a day and you have a session, then maybe you have a break, and then you have another session, and that's kind of how you're formatting one of your intensive days. Just because you have all that space doesn't mean that you can just hang back and let your clients just go, right? You still need that pacing. And I think that the tango is the best way to keep that focus and to make sure that you have good pacing. And so I see move one, present process, what's happening in between. If you're working with a couple, what's happening in between, right? Move one, 20, 30 minutes if you're in stage one to get a really good move one before you decide where you want to work more intrapsychically with one in order to enact, right? Which is move two. So whether you're in a session with an hourly client or in an intensive, hang on to the tango. Really rely on the tango for your pacing. Do a move one just like you would do if you had a client that was coming to you for an hourly session. In my intensives, each session tends to be between 90 minutes and 2 hours. I usually don't, I never go beyond 2 hours. I don't think that anything good happens beyond 2 hours. If you can't, get to a move five in 2 hours, then you're probably stuck in content, you're stuck in something. It's an active cycle that you got sucked into. So you want to really keep that pacing and try not to go over 2 hours at all. Usually you should get to someplace pretty good by 90 minutes, okay? That feels great to me. Then we can take a break. We can come back after the break. I can check in. How was it coming out of that session? What's it like coming into this session? What's staying with you? Get another move one. What's our present process now? They might have thought of something might have happened during the break, right? You've got some more kind of what's happening in the present moment. How does this relate to their cycle? What happens between, right? And maybe you'll want to work with the other partner to keep it balanced. Maybe you'll do a move two with the other partner. It doesn't matter. You have to kind of use that clinical judgment. But pacing is so, so, so important. And how do I have good pacing? The tango. I rely on the tango. I try to keep my focus. I do the same thing that I would with hourly sessions and an intensive. So I hope that helps. Any questions, please reach out. Please let me know. I do have my intensive e-course. Details for that is listed in the description at the bottom of this video. Thank you.